people here did want to give Kemba his due, so let's give Kemba his due. In addition, obviously hitting the big shots, the finishing is another thing we keep talking about here. He opened it up with, I mean, that opening drive was
ginormous play,
gorgeous, right? Is Bobby on serious delay?
That's the Kemba we like. You know what? I think that's.
I think he might be.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Boot him. Boot him.
He's live on the scene.
Such a great teammate, Jimmy.
He's not even
boot him.
I know, right? Immediately, too. Immediately. Get him out of here.
Damn, Jimmy didn't even hesitate. Damn.
Boot him.
You're not Aaron Gordon 2.0. Get out of here.
Get off that Brockton Wi-Fi.
Well, I'll let you guys go crazy over Kemba.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing about Kemba. I mean, the thing that I like is that he's starting to play with a little bit more offensive oomph. He's been doing, I think, a decent job when he struggled, figuring out other ways to help. But he's actually starting to knock down shots in critical moments when they need someone to step up and do that outside of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And so that's good. I mean, that to me, that's where this team can take that next step to being a team that we all envisioned them of being this year, and that's one of the top 3, top 4 teams in the East. And Kemba's a big part of that if this is going to happen. So the Kemba we've seen of late has been really good, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they haven't really had a bunch of back-to-backs. So that's allowed him to get into a nice rhythm. Teammates get into a rhythm, and the Celtics are obviously a much better team when Kemba is in a good rhythm.
It is funny, though, because we've been praising him. It's not, and this isn't a bad thing, but we've been praising the 8-shot Kemba Walker, the 10-shot Kemba Walker, who was distributing. And tonight, you're down a couple bodies, and it's like, all right,
20?
Kemba,
I think
you got to
20
score
shots tonight, right?
20 shots tonight.
Yeah.
So I mean, you want to know that he's got that gear. That's the thing is, we talk about having Kemba give the game what it needs. If you've got your scorers in there, and you need to kind of, be more of a distributor. I love that. What's so funny to me is every single writer out there, every Celtics guy wrote their Kemba Walker is playing a different brand of basketball sort of game, hit publish, boom, sat back, then Kemba goes out tonight and jacks 20 shots.
Brown, and even early
I know. It's just funny because, he had to, who else was going to? Those, I mean, when Jayson was out, or some of those offensive lineups tonight were so grisly. You're just like, you knew it. When they took that lead in the third and then they got into their bench a little bit, you're like, oh God. Like
the first quarter bench side was hard.
That's when I was talking trash about Cornette. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, is this what we're gonna see? Like, this guy on an island getting caught up on switches and the second unit just struggling, even with Tatum out there, Yeah. But we didn't see him in the second half, so that was good.
But Kemba did everything. He had another friggin' 8 rebounds tonight. It's not there it is, shown on this graphic. Drew at least 2 charges, if not more, at least 2. He did literally everything you'd want to do.
What's the difference between tonight and him and his best last year? We're back there at this point. He's been phenomenal.
It felt like he could have gone off for 30 something at various times last year because it was more of his role to score. So it's just less so. But I mean, are you kidding? I mean, we said the other day every night you would take 14-point Kemba with 8 assists. Of course you're going to take 26-point Kemba. But they needed him. They needed everything tonight. So they don't win this. They don't win this if he doesn't do this. Right.
I'm at the point with him where I'm just not trading him at this point. It's not worth it. Like, there's nothing they're going to get that can replicate him when he gets to his best. It's going to be inconsistent. There's probably going to be ups and downs with the management at this point, but he fits so well with this team. Like, just his deferential style, his ability to pass, and then the threat that he is to these defenses, that never changes night in and night out because guys just know who he is. And so even on his worst nights, he's a massive threat to these defenses that they have to account for. And I still think he's going to have a long, long stretch here where he's playing at a high level. This is above what I think people expected from him this year. There were some grisly expectations after he missed that first stretch.
It's hard to tell what next season's going to bring. I mean, I'm with you in the sense of
why? I mean, nothing's gone wrong this year.
I think Kemba's got enough in the tank for this team because we talked about it all season long because he's got 2 rising all-stars in that starting lineup. And, of course, there isn't a whole lot of pressure in the sense of he has to be the guy night in and night out. But, I mean, it's hard to say what next year Kemba's going to look like. But we've been telling you this all year, Bobby. I mean, like, that contract, even if the Celtics really wanted to, it's tough to move right now. I mean, but then again,
they can't.
But that's the point, Josue. If they were getting something great for him, sure, but they're not gonna.
Right, but even so, but either way, a solid postseason performance could change that. But it's difficult to gauge how much the Celtics are going to lose in that trade. You know, it could be a lot. It could be a lot to hand over. You know, for a lot less than what Danny's willing to do.
Yeah, the Kemba trade offseason conversation is one of two conversations. It's if he wasn't good enough to get to at all, and you just literally didn't want him, you just want the money off the books, that you basically sell him. That's not the case right now. He's clearly good enough to play on your team. So the other conversation is, could you trade him for anything of value? And the answer is also no. There's no way you're going to get something as good as what Kemba is for you right now. So you're going to ride or die with Kemba probably for the next 2 years. So if you're getting anything close to the version you're getting this year for the next 2 seasons, that's fine. You're thrilled with that. So there's just no way you're moving Kemba for anything that's going to make you better. Realistically, you're going to do it just to clear the money off the books, or you're going to keep him and then hope this is what you have. And if he's playing like this, you're fine. You have no worries. Yeah,
right. Why would you? Yeah, you wouldn't. You're not trying to mess with success, as they say. It's the problem is. And that's the thing. It's
not ideal at this money to have. Ideally, that $37 million would be someone else. It's not. So at this point, you're living with it because you have to. Right.
Yeah, you take it, and the more he can give you, and the more he can sort of be a chameleon out there and give the game what it needs. I mean, I think recently he's shown that he can. So maybe that's him saying, "Hey, listen, like everyone's tossing my name in the mud right now, saying I'm just like this albatross contract and I can't play or I can't contribute." It's like. Not quite the case, I mean, like
Kemba doesn't watch the Garden Report.
Yeah, thankfully, but if he watches, ESPN, I don't know what they're saying, but I guess the point is, I think he's still showing that he has a lot of value and he can bring a lot of value to this team. So again, like you said, I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot back for him because of the money, not because he can't play, because of the contract situation. That ties up a huge amount of that value that you'll get in return. So if he's on a much lower contract, sure, you get something, but at this price, you're not. So use him for what he's good for, and that's right now. That's offense, which is certainly what they need.
See, I don't agree. I think his value is more than just offense. I think there are other things that he can do, and I think he's starting to show that. He started showing that when he was, frankly, not making shots, because that was my concern to that extent, that all he could do is offense, and when he doesn't have that, what good is he? Well, he's shown that he has value beyond just being a shot maker, and that, to me, only amplifies the need that this team has for Kemba Walker. Now, does that mean that you don't trade him under any circumstance? Absolutely not. In fact, I think Danny Ainge would be wise enough.
Oh, he's going to look.
You got to know the value of your players. You have to. If for no other reason than to know whether or not others cover them as much as you do. And if they don't, then that's something you deal with. But with Kemba Walker, you are not going to get someone who can impact the game the way he can as a scorer and be content with being the number 3 guy at best. Guys with his type of skills, they want to be the alpha or at least the Robin. Kemba is perfectly fine with being the number 3.
He's Tatum and Brown.
Exactly, and that's okay.
He's Alfred.
Because to me,
he's Alfred.
Here's the thing:
he's in the back.
If Kemba's my number 3, I'm feeling really good, because there are very few number 3s that have his type of resume, his type of ability. My only concern with Kemba is the concern most people have: can he stay healthy? Can he stay healthy enough to get through the playoffs and be impactful there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out. But I right now, I have less concern about his health than I've had since the injury.
You were early on the apology, Jimmy. I give you credit.
Well, it's less concerned about the health and more concerned about.
To my credit, it was he hasn't made me take it back. So shout out to me for apologizing as soon as I saw that it was due.
John,
right off the bat.
We're gonna be 2 rounds into the playoffs. He's gonna have a 30-point game, and John's still gonna be like, I'm worried about 2023.
I'm worried. No, look, the people in the chat, I think, not all, but some people aren't seeing it. There's a lot of chatter. No, but I'm saying there's a lot of chatter about they're never going to win with Kemba. Like, Kemba Walker is not ideal for Boston, okay? It's not an ideal fit with this lineup. He's remaking himself a little bit here, as Sherrod has said, to impact the game in different ways. He's still an undersized point guard who other teams can hunt on defense. He's a streaky shooter. He's not ideal. You in a perfect world.
I mean, yeah, but
that's not the argument we're having.
With every ideal player on
the argument you're having right now is throw the salary out the window and look at the player, and the player has his value over anything else you could either get for him in a trade or anything else you would play on your team is way higher than that. He's much better than anyone else you're going to give minutes to on the Celtics over him, and anything you'd be able to net in a trade. So it's the best you're going to do right now. That's what we're saying, I think, as far as Kemba is concerned.
I think he is good enough to, the reason they are in the position they're in is not because of Kemba Walker, okay? So let's get off that. I think if they're good enough to go to the Eastern Conference Finals and they're, good enough to be a game out from being in the NBA Finals, then don't tell me that Kemba Walker is the problem and they're not good enough doing them. It was a team-wide issue is the reason why this team is where they are. It's not just on one player.
Well, so
I think he is talented enough to be on a championship team, whether it's this team or another team.